Hi, it's EchoTF here, and I've got a demonstration video with some Shapeways upgrades for the Uranos combiner. He's a really good combiner, but there's always opportunity for improvement, so I'll show you a few parts today that can make a big difference in the figure. So the issues being addressed, the first thing is there's just some awkwardness about the stance of this figure. And you can see he can't stand well with his legs together. He's kind of wobbly. He's got the classic TFC problems with stability, and how we address it in this figure is a little bit different than how we address it in Hercules. The other thing is there's some opportunities to play around with the proportions. He looks a little short in the waist. I'll show you some parts that make a difference in that. Another interesting thing is really what's going on with the back of him. So he's got a lot of parts, you know, the blackbird parts, they kind of sit and fall around on his back, and they're just sort of awkward. They're not really gathered up. You've got the extra cockpit that's hanging around, so it's kind of not nicely tied together, and we've got some parts that actually address that issue as well. So I'll show you how that all goes together in this video. So the first part that I'm going to show you is probably the one a lot of you are going to want, and I'm just going to start by showing you what's going on in his back. So basically you've got all the blackbird bits and the jet parts, and they're all kind of flopping around. So the idea here, it actually came from a fellow board member, G.I. Eddy, is to actually do something with this part and the cockpit and figure out a way to basically flip this around and gather all the parts together so that it's nicely contained on his back. So how that's done is there's actually just a little post part that goes here, and this is the factory part. So you can see the factory part is just a straight post, nothing too fancy, kind of a little I-beam. And what you can do is you can gently push out this pin. On mine it was actually very easy to push out. And I've made a new part that actually has a little swivel. This is how it comes from Shapeways. You can see there's a little stake that holds the two parts together. And you basically you shave off that stake, you push the two pieces together, and what you end up with is you end up with a part now that when it's folded like this, it can actually swing around. So see how that works? This can actually pivot around. And what that lets you do is allows you to actually place the whole fuselage, the whole cockpit together onto his back. So you can even swing it if you wanted to. You can even swing it with that in place. And now it's actually transforming instead of parts forming, which is nice. And what I'm going to do, this is always kind of fiddly back here, I'm actually going to kind of gather all this together. And this is nicer looking because it's all sort of a giant backpack. And then I'm going to stand them up. And what do you do with all this stuff? Well, now it's kind of dangling around. There's this other piece here, which is a gathering piece. And how the gatherer piece works is it's going to grab these two pieces here and lock in. There's some extra tabs that stick out, and they just all pull together. So I'm going to pop it in here. You can see it does that. And just kind of push the jet parts together, and there you go. Now it's more solidly on his back. So this is nice. Everything's kind of gathered together, and it's not going to be flopping around as much, and it won't be getting in the way. Okay, the next piece that I'm going to show you is to address the stance of the figure, just to make him more stable. And these are thigh pieces. And these are kind of unique in that the thigh pieces, if you look at where the socket is and where the post is, it's offset. And what that does is it's actually going to allow his legs to sit a little differently when they're installed. So I'm going to pop that in. They're tight when you pop them in. Like that. What this is going to let his legs do is it's going to let his legs stand closer together. So I'm going to do the same thing here. Pop these in. They're really just a small extension. It does end up adding a little bit of height, but not too much overall, because really the goal is just to get his legs closer together. But it's interesting the effect this has by getting his legs closer together. The ratchets in his waist now are in a better position, and overall he's going to stand a lot better. So that's the benefit of that. Made a difference in his overall stance. So the last thing, again, this is kind of optional depending on the aesthetics you might want, is this different crotch plate. And what it's trying to do is give them a longer looking torso, because you've added some height here in the actual legs. Legs are already quite long. So how does this work? Well, this little piece is just going to pop out. You take out the factory, this is the wings of Uranos part, and pop in the new guy there. And there's the different look there. So there you go. It's a change in the overall figure. The last little thing there to note is just there are some little 5mm posts up top. You know, if you wanted to, maybe put some weapons up there. It's kind of up to you. You know, overall it is up to you too in terms of what parts you're going to get, because you don't have to get all these parts. You know, maybe you just want to secure the Blackbird parts towards the back of them. Maybe you don't want the thigh offsetters. It's totally up to you. But either way, these will be available on Shapeways. And just one last little comparison. I'm going to bring in Mr. Hercules himself. He's an oldie but a goodie. Just to give you an idea of the overall height of these two, because I'm sure you're interested what the thigh extensions do. The thigh offsetters do. They do add a little bit of height. Not as much as the ones for Hercules, but overall, yeah, Uranos is quite a tall figure. So, yeah, I'm going for that sort of athletic runner look, as opposed to the weightlifter look that Hercules has. And by bringing his legs closer together and sort of extending his waist, it's achieving that look. So hope you enjoy the parts. Support me on the Shapeways store. It's Echo TF. Have a good one.